Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have a criminal contempt and restraining order hearing with a very high conflict couple, where mom claims dad is behind in paying his child support, and he's been making disparaging remarks about her and allowing his mother to say horrible things to the children. She says he's been drinking alcohol while he has the children against court orders, and he hasn't exercised his visitation with the older children in years. She also wants the restraining order she was given to stay in place. She was given the RO after dad was arrested in a domestic incident with his current wife that happened while the children were present, and while his wife fled and took her child, she abandoned the other children at the scene, so mom had to come and get them. Mom wants dad to have to do reunification counseling before he can have visitation with the children again. What does dad have to say for himself? Let's find out.
Judge, I'd call my client, Ms. Leah.
This is the motion for contempt and a restraining order modification. Thomas, you're representing yourself, correct? Yes, sir. All right. And you may call your first witness.
Judge, I call Ms. Leah Thomas.
And I do need to ask if we can, may I approach?
You may. You want to make any sort of opening statement, or are you just going to put on your proof?
I don't mind to make an opening statement, so you've got something to go by, Judge. We're here today on, we've got a petition filed for contempt, criminal contempt, and we've got a restraining order that was issued pursuant to a domestic assault incident between Mr. Thomas and his current wife, Mary Thomas. We're here before the court just to simply try that case. Specifically, Mr. Thomas has failed to pay child support in a timely manner. He's attempted to get caught up, but to date, he is still about $2,300 behind in child support. He is also in contempt for talking about the mother in a negative manner and in the presence of the minor children, drinking alcohol in the presence of the minor children. He's not exercised visitation with 2 of the 4 minor children since the inception of the order. He has said derogatory things about the minor children, used the F word quite often. He's allowed his mother to cuss out Ms. Thomas in the presence of officers. And at this point in time, we're asking that the restraining order remain in place and that Mr. Thomas seek counseling, and that Mr. Thomas also be found in contempt for his failure to pay court-ordered child support and his other contemptible matters which we will present to the court today.
You may proceed with your proof.
If you would, please state your full name for the record.
Talia Bernier Thomas.
And Ms. Thomas, are you here before this court asking the court to modify your prior parenting plan?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the main basis for the modification of the prior parenting plan?
To have the safety for my kids.
Pull that microphone, if you will, towards you so that you can. All right, thank you.
Would you repeat that, please?
For the safety of my kids.
Okay. And during the course and scope of going through the prior parenting plan, tell the court what happened in order for you to file this petition and request for restraining order.
You mean like for like the whole year of when it started, or up to the date of the
Describe the domestic assault for the court, and then we'll go backwards if we need to.
So the day of the domestic assault, somebody had sent me a screenshot of Mr. Thomas's mugshot. So I then sent an email to my attorney, and she, advised me that I could call to do a welfare check. So at that time, I had messaged Mr. Thomas's mom, Susan Thomas, to ask her, about the kids and stuff like that. And she proceeded to get an attitude with me, didn't disclose to me that, that he was in jail, even though I had knew he was. So then I had contacted Dixon Police, and they told me that I could go pick up my kids. And when I went over there, I waited for the officers to get there. And I stood in the yard while they were trying to get my children, and she proceeded. Do you want me to say what she was saying?
Yes, please.
She proceeded to say she's just being a bitch. She's just being ugly. She doesn't have to come here to get the kids. She's just causing a scene. And Officer told her that that was not necessary. And at that time, I still didn't say anything. The kids were in the house, in the presence at that time. And she wouldn't even let my youngest son get his shoes from the home. And that day I took them back to the house. And when he got out of jail of his 12 hours, I met him at one of our old meeting spots to give him the kids back. Then the next morning I called to have a,
Was he under bond conditions as
yes,
a
he was
result of
under
it?
bond conditions, but at the time I still didn't know who he had went to jail for. I
Okay.
was not informed.
You did not know who the domestic assault
No.
was on? Okay.
So I called that morning and asked for another welfare check on the kids. And when that happened, maybe like 30 minutes later, Susan Thomas called me and was like, you can come get your fucking kids right now because you sent my son to jail again, you stupid bitch. And Officer Choate then told her she needed to calm down again. And then what?
This is Mr. Thomas's mother that is
Yes.
saying this to you, the grandmother of your minor children?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I asked my sister to ride over there with me, and I still never stepped out of the vehicle. And I got the kids back, and that's when I had learned that the domestic that he had got was with Mary Thomas.
And during that domestic assault, did Mary Thomas remove your children from the home to try to protect them or do anything to protect them?
No.
Okay. And was Mr. Thomas under the influence at the time?
Yes.
Is Mr. Thomas under strict orders by this court and in the parenting plan not to be under the influence or have any alcohol around the minor children?
Yes.
And were your minor children in his care and custody at the time that he was under the influence?
Yes.
And were they, to your knowledge, was he arrested, I'm sorry, Mr. Thomas, in the presence of the minor children?
Yes.
What had he done in order to get arrested?
From what I've read of the police report, because we still have not had a conversation about what happened, that his current wife hit him, woke him up, accused him of cheating, and he told her by police report, bitch, get the fuck out of my GD mom's house. And then she tried to take their baby, and he wouldn't allow her to take their baby. And she said that she called the cops, she was in fear of their life, but she only removed their children, and she left my youngest 2 children in the home with him.
And her accusing him of infidelity, is that an issue that you had in your marriage with him?
Yes, she was the mistress.
At some point in time since the final decree went down, has this stepmother, Mary Thomas, has she asked the kids to call her mom?
She did not, but he told my kids to call her mom.
Okay. And do your kids even call him dad at this point?
No, they call him Nolan.
When was the last time that they had any communication with Mr. Thomas?
7 months ago.
Is there anything in the restraining order that prevents him from making phone calls to your children?
No. Well, can I correct that?
Sure.
With my 2 youngest children, he hasn't seen them in 7 months. My oldest son, he hasn't seen him in 2 years.
Okay. Since the order went down?
Since January 28th of 2022.
Okay. Now, can you explain that to the court? Are your oldest 2 adopted?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Thomas adopted those children?
Yes.
When you 2 separated, did the court order provide him with visitation with your 2 oldest children?
Yes.
Okay. And has he exercised any visitation with them?
No.
Are you asking as a part of this modification that you be allowed to claim your 2 oldest for tax year 2022 because he's had no communication with them?
Yes.
Now, since the restraining order went down, was there anything that prevented him from calling or checking on the kids?
No.
Okay. And did his attorney, in fact, tell him that there was nothing preventing that the last time we were in court?
Yes.
Has he done anything to reach out to you to contact the children since the last time we were in court?
No.
To your knowledge, has the father had birthday parties for other children and not invited your children?
Yes.
Okay, was that prior to the restraining order?
No.
Okay. Has he told you that he doesn't have to visit or talk to your 2 oldest children since he only adopted them?
He hasn't told me specifically, but, you know.
Have your kids heard that?
Yes. Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Okay, I can correct that. He
You're going
told,
to sustain the objection. When you make an objection, if you'll stand up so that I can make sure I know you're objecting.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Can you correct that? Go ahead.
he told me that when you get a new family, you don't see or take care of your old one.
And that was as to your 4 children that you have with him. Prior to the restraining order going down, when the minor children were in your care, did he ever call to check on them?
No.
And what was y'all's schedule?
I had them Monday through Friday, and then Friday at 6 p.m. I would meet him at the 4-way in Hickman County, and then I get them back Sunday at 6 p.m.
Did he call or contact them on their birthdays?
No.
Tell the court what happened for him to be in contempt on Father's Day.
So how it is scheduled, Father's Day was on Sunday. It was a holiday, but on holidays it ends at 6 p.m. So I sent my sister and my dad to go pick up the kids, and at 6:05, 6:10, they called me saying that he wasn't there. So I don't like to talk to him on the phone because he's not nice. So I texted him, and he said, "Did you forget what day it was, you fucking idiot? It's Father's Day. It's my day. I'll bring them back to you tomorrow at 6 Monday." So then I tried to call him, and there was really no conversation. So I just called the Dixon County Police Station to get, them to get involved because he wasn't going to bring them back to me.
And did you arrive to get them, or did your sister and dad stay there to get them?
No, they left because he refused to come meet them, and he lives I think, an hour away. I don't know how far Columbia is from Hickman.
And tell the court what you ended up having to do in order to get your children back that night.
I had to give my court order document to Officer Hogan to read it to him, to state to him, the guidelines that even though it's Father's Day, it still ends at 6 p.m. on a holiday.
And what happened from there? Did he call you any other names?
He said, "Fuck you, you stupid bitch."
Now, pursuant to your parenting plan, you two were required to meet in Lyles because he was living in Columbia, correct?
Before the divorce or after?
After the divorce.
Yes.
And even if he would be at his mom's house down the road, would he make you drive all the way to Lyles to exchange the children?
Yeah, he would drive past my house, have his window down, smile, and keep driving.
Well, that brings up another important point. Did you see his mother in the parking lot not 30 minutes ago?
Yes.
And what did she do when you walked by her vehicle?
She flicked me off.
Is that the kind of behavior that they've been doing in front of your children?
Yes.
And have your children heard these dirty words that he says about you?
Yes.
Have they made social media posts, negative social media posts about you?
Yes.
Tell the court what happened when you tried to co-parent with him about the open house at school.
I had texted him a week before telling him that, about the open house, and if he was going to go, no response. And I texted him the weekend of open house, no response.
Was it his weekend for visitation that weekend?
It was summer, so he had them for that time. And then I texted him the day before about the open house, and he never responded. And he ended up going to the open house because the reason why I kept asking him because I wanted to be able to go too to make sure he was going to take her. But he never let me know that he was going, and he ended up going. And it was my daughter's year to start kindergarten, and I didn't get to, be a part of that milestone of her life.
And did you miss the open house as a result?
Yes.
Has the father missed other visitation even with your youngest children?
Yes.
Routinely. And where has he gone for his visitation that you know of, pictures that were posted?
Then he went to Michigan.
Okay. And did he offer to take your children or offer for someone else to watch them?
I had asked him if I could, keep them for that weekend because I knew he was in Michigan already. So he never even had a conversation with me. He was already gone. He had left to go that Tuesday, and he didn't even inform me that he wasn't even going to be there anyways.
And did he allow his mother, who's talked negatively about you, to keep the children?
Yes, or his mother-in-law that's right down the road.
Have you heard his mother call you the N-word before?
She said it in my presence, yeah.
When you've gone to pick up your minor children from the home, have there been occasions when he refused to send the children out and I want you to describe, but send the children out in the clothing and the shoes that you sent them in?
When I went to pick up my son after court one day, I guess he had bought him a pair of tennis shoes, and it was snowing that day, and he told my kids to get the hell out of my mom's house, and he made my 13-year-old son walk back to my car in the snow with barefooted.
And did that happen again when an officer was present?
Yeah, with my 6-year-old, his mom wouldn't let Drayson take his shoes, and Officer Schultz told her that he came in shoes, he needs to come back in shoes.
And did he finally get to wear his shoes home?
No, she gave him a pair of her house shoes.
Since the divorce, was he required to return huge crates of clothing that belonged to your children?
Yes.
Okay, has he done that?
No.
Was he required to pay an outstanding bill at First Baptist Daycare?
Yes.
Has he done that?
No.
Has he failed to properly secure them in safety seats in vehicles?
Yes.
Okay. Have you witnessed that?
Yes.
Have you said something to him about it?
Yes. I called him.
Was he ugly to you like he has been about
Yes.
everything else?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He told me to mind my damn business, and how would I know, and he can do whatever he wants to when they're in his fucking care, and he hung up the phone.
Are your children small enough that they are required to be in booster seats still?
Yes.
Or at the time they were required to be in booster seats?
They still are.
Since the entry of and Judge, I've already given him copies of this today. Was he required to start making child support payments on the 4th day of November of 2022?
Yes.
Okay. That was the first payment that was due, is that correct?
Yes.
And how much were those payments supposed to be weekly?
$359.30.
Did he make those payments like he was supposed to?
I didn't receive the first payment for that till December 27th, 2022.
Okay, so he missed 6 or 7 weeks of payments? Okay. Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
And is that reflected on that statement right there? Is that reflected on there?
I don't understand what you're asking.
The payments, are they reflected on there? The payments that he has made versus what he has not made?
Yes.
Okay, and are the dates that he's made those payments on there?
Yes.
And since that time, has he still failed to keep child support current?
Yes.
Okay, how far behind is he right now on current support?
$1,245.30.
Judge,
Sorry, how much?
$1,245.30. I'd submit that as the first marked exhibit, Judge.
Look at exhibit 1.
Does that statement accurately reflect the payments that have been made?
Yes.
Okay. If I may approach, Judge.
May.
Pursuant to the last court order, was Mr. Thomas required to make arrearage payments to you
Yes.
in the amount of $200 per month?
Yes.
Does that accurately reflect the payments of $200 a month that he's made?
Yes.
And how far behind is he still on those payments?
$1,100.
Judge, I'd submit that as the next marked exhibit.
Exhibit 2.
Sorry.
Pursuant to your parenting plan and court order, was Mr. Thomas required to make payments towards extracurricular activities and expenses for the children?
Yes.
Has he assisted in any expenses for the children, aside from this child support, since the court order went down?
No.
Have you requested that he assist you?
Yes.
And specifically, what did you request that he assist you with?
I asked him if he could help pay for half of my son's contact case. I asked him if he could help pay for half of school supplies, and I asked him if he could help pay for half of sports.
And since you asked him that, has he ever assisted?
No.
And did you give him the amounts that you were needing?
Well, not every time, because he wouldn't respond when I would text. And when he did respond, he told me that legally, by law, since they're in my care Monday through Friday, all those expenses fall on me.
Okay. Has he assisted with school lunches?
No.
Okay, but he knows school lunches exist.
Yes.
Is that right? Let's talk about the restraining order. Are you concerned about the minor children being in his care right now?
Yes.
Okay. Is that due to the length of time that they've been out of his care?
Yes.
And the fact that he never follows a court order?
Yes.
Okay. Despite having bond conditions, was he arrested for being around his wife, Mary Thomas, after the domestic assault took place?
Yeah, not even 12 hours later.
He was back with her.
Yes.
Did she claim that they had physical contact during that they had a physical altercation between
Yes.
the two of them? Do your children have your children expressed to you issues with their father?
Yes.
Are they concerned about being back in his home?
Yes, when I try to have conversations with them about it, they immediately start crying or get upset. Yeah. My oldest son, I went to his parent-teacher conference last month, and his teacher had a conversation with me about, that he had talked to him about stuff with his dad and that he was upset about it, and it was affecting his grades in school.
And is that similar for your other 3 children?
My daughter, she's very emotional about it. She really just doesn't want to have anything to do with him, and she doesn't. A comment that his wife made to her upset her, and my oldest son has never even met her.
What was the comment made to your daughter?
She told her that she was nasty and she had germs, so she didn't need to touch any of their baby stuff.
And had they had a baby together?
Yes, while we were married.
And did Mary or the grandmother call your daughter anything else?
His mom made comments about my daughter's weight, and his mom has made comments and saying the N-word around my kids.
Okay, and does that bother your children?
Yes.
At this point in time, are you asking the court not to allow the stepmother or the grandmother around your minor children?
Yes.
If the court were to grant visitation to Mr. Thomas in some form or fashion, do you think that it needs to be something around counseling or therapy for the minor children?
Yes.
Now, since the court order, has Mr. Thomas been convicted of a felony charge?
Yes.
Sexual exploitation of a minor?
Yes.
And was he under bond conditions at the time of his arrest for the domestic assault?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did it violate his probation?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if his probation officer knows about that?
I'm not sure.
Have your minor children described to you incidences where the stepmother and the grandmother have pulled on their ears and pulled their hair?
Yes.
Okay. Does that give you cause for concern in that home?
Yes.
Did Mr. Thomas, the last time we were in court, did Mr. Thomas make an ugly face at you?
Yes, in front of my oldest son.
Did you know that because your oldest son commented on it?
That, and I seen it.
Does your minor child require lactose milk?
Yes.
And is that medically required? That's a directive from her
Yes.
doctor.
Yes,
Okay.
because it makes her stomach hurt.
And has Mr. Thomas and his wife, have they observed that request from the doctor?
You mean his mom?
And his mom, I'm sorry.
No. They told her that she was a liar and she could drink 2% milk and she'd be just fine.
Despite trying to co-parent with him, has he done the same? Has he done anything to try to co-parent with you?
No.
Does he refuse to answer text messages and phone calls?
Yes.
Do you find it almost impossible to parent with him at this point?
Yeah, I don't really like to talk to him if I don't have to. If I don't have to do the pickups or drop-offs, I get my family to do it. Like I try to have as little contact with him as possible.
Now, one of the big issues in the divorce hearing was that he was required to take your daughter to speech. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, since that time, has he refused to take your daughter to speech?
Yes.
Okay. And did he make some big deal of that in divorce court, saying that he was the one that always did it, you never did it, and he made some big
Yes.
uproar about it? But to date, how many speech appointments has he missed
All of them.
since the court order went down for him to have visits for him to be allowed to take her to those? Is that correct?
Yeah.
To your knowledge, is Mr. Thomas able-bodied and capable of providing the child support and the arrearage amounts that he's been ordered to do?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the court?
Anything?
Yeah, is there anything else you'd like to tell the court?
Can I just say something?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I've been being a single parent since I was 17. I was a mom of 2 kids. And he knew that when he chose to be with me, I was a single mom of a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. And when he made the decision to adopt them, it was stated in the courtroom that, even if you and her divorce, they are still yours. So it hurts me that he feels in his heart that he no longer has to care for them or see them or anything. And things were done the wrong way. And I just really want things to be done the right way. I want to have the respect. I want to be able to co-parent, not with just him, but both of them. Like, I want my kids to have a safe place, not just in my home, but theirs too. And they didn't deserve what happened. And I honestly didn't deserve it either. 5 people were put in a messy situation because of the choice of his actions. And I have forgiven him and overlooked what he's done. And I wish he could love our kids more than he hates me.
That brought up something else in my mind. When you knew the kids were being called names after the final court order got entered, and they were going over to his home with a phone, would they allow the kids to use it to call you?
No.
What would they do with that phone?
They would make them leave the phone with me.
And were you concerned about their safety?
Yes, because when he would have them the whole time, I had no communication at all with my kids. My oldest son was having to go to school to use his friend's phone just to be able to tell me what was going on.
Okay. And is that when you decided to file this after the domestic occurred?
Yes.
That's all, Judge.
Mr. Thomas, you're representing yourself. You have the right at this point to ask questions. I'm going to give you a chance to testify. So this will not be an opportunity for you to testify, but if you have questions in the form of a question, you may come to the podium and ask any question. Do you want to ask any question?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, come to the podium and make sure they're in the form of a question.
On August 1st, when the kids went back to school, did you receive a text message from me asking to talk to them to see how their first day of school was?
Yes.
Did I receive that phone call?
No,
Why was that?
because it was the first day of school and I was working and I wasn't with them.
So after you had got off of work, why did I still not receive a phone call?
Because the first day of school is hectic and you were not working that day, so you had every opportunity. If you had chose to, you could have been a part of the first day of school. You chose not to because you chose to go to your ex-wife's her son's first day of school. I didn't take that opportunity from you.
Okay, but originally you just stated that I don't try to make any efforts in contacting the kids.
Making an effort would have been coming to your daughter's first day of school when you were not working.
That's not my question. My question was, do I make efforts to talk to my children?
On August 1st of 2022, you
That's-
made effort that one day when you called.
Okay. And in the final degree from our divorce, was it stated in there that both parents, when one of the minor children have a cell phone, both parents are to have that child's cell phone number?
Yes.
Do I have Braylon Thomas's cell phone number? Let me re-ask the question. Have I asked you for Braylon's phone number to contact him?
You had your son's cell phone number when you had added him to your phone plan, but you took the phone from him, so you made it where you had no contact with him when you took the phone back.
Okay, please just answer the question.
Judge, it's been asked and answered.
He didn't answer it. He said,
I'm sorry.
he said, did I ask you for my son's cell phone number? And she answered a different way. She didn't directly answer it. The question he's asking you is did he ask you for the cell phone number? The answer
Yes.
is yes or no.
And did I receive that number?
I asked my 13-year-old if he was comfortable with you having his number. And he said if he was to ask me personally when he sees me and does not speak to me at the pickups or drops off, I will give it to him. But no, I didn't give you the number because you could have asked him for it, but you don't speak to him.
Okay.
I answered your question.
And if I don't have his phone number to get a hold of him, to ask for his number, which if I had a number, I wouldn't have to ask. So I had to go through you to get his number from you. So that's why I'm asking, when I asked for my son's phone number, when he switched to a different plan, and I asked for his number, did you give me that
Why
cell
didn't
phone
you
number?
ask for
Please just
asking?
answer the question.
You could have asked him
It's
for it.
actually been asked and answered.
You could have asked him
Hold
for
on just a
it.
second. Mr. Duke, are you making an objection?
Yes, Your Honor, that was asked and answered. She has answered that question already.
All right. Sustained to believe that has been asked and answered.
Okay, and have you been asked by me, seeing how I don't have any of the kids' phone numbers, to contact them about any soccer games or any events that the kids are in? Have I asked you for that or asked you about that?
You don't have to. You have Class Dojo on your phone. Everything's posted on Class Dojo. We get the same schedule from the school.
Can you answer the question?
You've never asked me about it. No, you have not.
Okay. And on Mother's Day, did you contact me and ask me what time we wanted to meet Saturday to get the kids?
No, because I texted you Monday, the week prior, and asked you, could I keep them longer? I talked to you in advance, asking if I keep them longer for Mother's Day. So no. And it
Right.
wouldn't have mattered if you did, because Mother's Day is on a Sunday. So even if you had brought them back to me at 6 p.m., the holiday ends at 6 p.m. So there'd been nothing to talk to me about.
Okay. So I have a text message that says Mother's Day is Sunday. What time do you want to meet Saturday night for me to get them? And I replied back, do you want to just keep them the whole weekend since it's Mother's Day? Is that yes or no? Is that me co-parenting cooperatively with you?
You were not in town. That's why you co-parented. You were in Michigan.
No, I was not.
Objection.
You can't testify, respond in such fashion. You will be given an opportunity to testify if you choose to, but this is the point where you ask questions.
You
Okay.
gave me permission to keep them because you were already out of town. So it wouldn't have mattered if you would have said no, because you were not in Tennessee. So that's why you were okay with me keeping them longer, because you were not in the same state to come back and pick them up.
Okay, when I asked you, back when we had the final degree and for our divorce, was Tanea coming
She came the first time.
for first time as in just one time or multiple times?
She came the first time, and then after the second time of her coming, she didn't want to come again because your wife told her she was nasty and had germs. And then there was another time that she was going to go, but she couldn't go because you brought your wife, y'all's 2 kids, and you drive a truck. So there was 6 people in a 6-seated car. She couldn't go. And you brought your wife after that every time with their kids. So you made it impossible for them to go, even if they had wanted to. And you never called to discuss and asked me in advance if they wanted to go. And then when you had texted me, when I told you that she didn't want to come anymore, you asked me why. And I said, if you wanted to know, that's a conversation that you need to have with your own daughter. And therefore, you did not do it after that.
And was it not put in the final degree that it was to the oldest 2 kids' discretion?
Yes, but it was also stated that twice a month that you were supposed to have a lunch or some kind of meeting with them, at least twice a month. It didn't have to be an overnight visit, and that you were supposed to make the arrangements for that, and you never did so.
And in the final decree for our divorce, it was said that you were supposed to get back clothing that I had had.
Correct.
Did you get back that clothing?
When you had them for the whole month, it was January. The clothing that you returned to me was summer clothes. You didn't return to me the winter clothes that they had for the entire month. No, and you didn't return to me any of my oldest 2 children's clothes, not one piece.
So after the divorce was finalized and they came back to my house, they didn't leave with no clothes, with duffel bags of clothes that I had when I had them.
You returned the clothes from summer, which were the clothes that you took out of our marital storage, and you never returned. When you took the kids in January of 2022, it's cold. So you returned a bag of summer clothes, which was not the items that was requested for you to return in January. So no, you did not. And you returned our 6 and 5-year-olds clothes, but you did not return our 13 and 9-year-olds clothes. So no, you did not.
Okay, and did we have a conversation over text about the clothes?
You would have to tell me what the conversation was. Like, we've had several conversations about clothes, correct? But I don't know.
Did we have a conversation about you asking for the clothes back and
Yes, I've texted you when I send the kids to your house. I would like the items that they wear to your house returned. You do not do it, and you did not respond.
Okay, and did you get the suitcase that I was supposed to return?
Yes, I got it back,
Did you get
damaged.
Did you get the bench back?
Yes, I got the bench returned to me at 9 o'clock at nighttime at the top of my driveway when I was not home. Yes, I did.
But you got it back, right? You have it?
Asked and answered, she's answered it.
Stain, she said she got it.
And it was also asked in the final degree that I was supposed to receive back some items also,
No,
right?
we discussed that in court, that I did not have those items. Nothing was ever put in there that I was stated to give anything back to you. When you walked out of the home, they told you that you forfeited everything in the home when you left for your new family.
So it wasn't in the final degree
No.
that I was supposed to get back a helmet from that
It
my
said
brother died
if
in.
my client was able to find it. So no.
Right, but you weren't able to find it, right, that's what you said, you weren't able to find it?
Correct.
So I have a text message here that says,
Mr. Thomas, unless you have filed something that asks that she be in some way found in contempt for violating the order regarding the returning of that item, that's not an issue that's before me. I don't see anything in the file that indicates that you have filed such a pleading, so therefore the matter is not before the court. So you need to move on to anything that is addressing what she has brought in the form of a petition and what her testimony is about. You can ask questions about that, but something that you're complaining about that she didn't return to you is not an issue that's before the court. You have any other questions on the issues that she has testified to about her pleading?
no, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Redirect, Ms. Duke.
Nothing good.
All right. Step down, please, ma'am. Ms. Duke, do you have any other witnesses?
I do have two other witnesses. I've got Officer Hogan here. She might be right outside if I may step out. Oh, there you are. Sorry. Come on up here. Yes. The Hill swear again.
Sure, if you'll raise your right hand and place under oath.
If you would, please state your name for the record.
Brianna Hogan.
Officer
And
Hogan, pull that microphone up closer to you, okay?
Sorry.
Thank you.
tell me what you do.
I'm a patrol officer for the City of Dixon Police Department.
And as a patrol officer, did you have the opportunity to respond to a complaint on Father's Day?
Yes, I did.
And was that complaint between Nolan Thomas and Miss Talia Thomas?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Can you describe for the court what happened that day?
Miss Talia Thomas had called in saying that she was supposed to get her children back, but Mr. Nolan Thomas did not bring the children back. It was supposed to be back at 6 p.m. on Father's Day, which was a Sunday.
And did she provide you with the paperwork to show where they were supposed to be home?
Yes, she did.
And did you make contact with Mr. Thomas at that point?
Yes, I did.
And what was that conversation like?
It was on the phone in my patrol car at first. He said that since it was Father's Day, he had asked if he could keep the children longer to celebrate the holiday. And that's when I had the copy that Miss Talia had given me for the court order of when the children were supposed to be home. And I told him that it was in the order that they were still supposed to be home by 6 p.m. And he said that he would bring the kids back.
And Did you hear him say anything derogatory about Miss Thomas?
He did not say anything on our phone conversation. Ours ended right after he had called Talia, and he said that,
You can say it.
okay, excuse me. He said that she was a selfish bitch, that she wanted the children back, even though it was Father's Day.
And could you hear a commotion in the back of his phone where kids were in the background?
Yes,
Did you tell him that you weren't going to have that out of him?
I did. It was, I don't know if he heard, since I was not talking to him directly through the phone, but I did say loud enough for him to hear, but in their conversation, that there was not to be any arguing and that he was supposed to bring the children back.
And have you had any other contact with him or with Miss Mary Thomas, Mary Walker Thomas, Mary Thomas, his wife, since all of that happened?
Yes.
Okay, tell the court a little bit about that.
I responded to a domestic, I believe it was around 2 a.m. in the morning, between Mr. Nolan and Miss Mary.
And was Mr. Thomas under the influence that evening?
Yes, he was.
And did you get an opportunity to read the parenting plan close enough where it says he was not to be having alcohol around the minor children?
No, he did not have a copy, and I did not think to ask.
Okay. And at this time, did he report that Mary had hit him?
Yes.
Okay. Upon investigation, did you discover that to be true or untrue?
Untrue.
And when Mary fled the residence, did she flee with any of the other children or just her own?
Just her own.
And the residence, was that in fact where his mother was staying?
I believe so. It was Madison Ridge Apartments.
It was not Mr. Thomas's actual residence. They were all staying at Mr. Thomas's mother's home?
Yes.
Is that correct? And did she get involved with the yelling? Also, did you hear his mother yell?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Was he arrested that night?
Yes.
Okay. And did he require a 12-hour hold?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did he immediately violate his bond restrictions to stay away from Mary Thomas?
I do not know.
Okay. That's okay if you don't. Is there anything else about that evening that concerned you?
There is one thing that I did note in my report whenever I did arrest Mr. Nolan for domestic assault. The reason why he said that he called for officers to respond was because Mary had hit him, and that he believed, since he was the one that had wounds to his face, he shouldn't be the one that went to jail. It should be Mary.
And did you discover later on from your interviewing people that he had actually received that from being in a wrestling match with his brother-in-law?
Yes, I did find that out.
So he lied to you about what happened that night?
Yes, he did.
Were you able to charge him with that, or he had already been charged with the domestic assault and that's what he was charged with?
Yes.
Is there anything else you need to tell the court?
I don't think so.
And was that on the August 1st, when was that happened?
To be honest, I'm not sure. I know it was last year during the fall.
Okay. That's all, Judge.
Mr. Thomas, you may ask this witness questions if you wish. You're not required to, but do you have any questions you want to ask?
On that night, or I guess early morning, was there any indication that any of the children were in harm's way?
Which one? Which night? I'm sorry. Was it the child custody issue day, or are you talking about the domestic?
No, the domestic.
The domestic. I did not have any contact with any of the other children besides the young one that Miss Mary was holding.
Right, and okay, and there was no indication that no children were harmed or anything like that?
I did not have contact with any other children.
Maybe I'm not asking the question right. The child that you had contact with that Mary was holding, did any of them seem like they were in any harm's way?
She did say that she was afraid for her and her child's safety whenever she left. That's the only child that I had contact with that night.
Right, and that was just because she said that I wouldn't let him leave, right? That's why she was in fear.
She said that you were yelling and you had yanked the car seat out from her grasp.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect?
That's all I have.
Thank you, officer. You may stand down. You're released from your subpoena. You may go about your business. Thank you. All right, next witness.
Judge, I have Officer Schote that is on Zoom.
This is Officer Jessica Schote. Correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
She'll need to turn her camera on. And unmute. Good afternoon, Officer Schote. If you'll, I think you're unmuted now. If you'll raise your right hand, let me place you under oath, please. You solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
All right, thank you. Ms. Duke, you may ask.
Yes, and she's having some childcare issues, so it will be quick. It won't be very long at all. Ms. Schote, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer with the City of Dixon Police Department.
Okay, and in the course and scope of your position, have you had the opportunity to run into Mr. Nolan Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you tell the court on what occasion you had the chance to run into him?
I've made contact with him on several occasions in reference to different things, domestics, order violations. He's come to file reports before, just different occasions.
Okay. On the occasion when the domestic assault occurred, were you there that evening responding with Ms. Hogan?
No.
Okay. Were you there, have you done a welfare check on Ms. Thomas's minor children while they were in care of Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Can you tell the court about that?
Yes, I got called to a welfare check over there. When I made contact, we asked if the female was there involved in the other domestic. She was, and Mr. Thomas was arrested for violation of bond conditions.
And was that shortly after the original domestic assault?
I believe it was the next day.
And when he was arrested, did you guys contact Ms. Thomas to come pick her children up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what was his reaction in front of the children about that? Do you recall? If you don't recall, it's okay.
I don't recall.
Have you heard him cuss hit Ms. Thomas before?
I don't remember specifically. I know that neither one of them are friendly with each other, but I don't remember specific occasions of words that were said.
Do you recall his mother saying something ugly to Ms. Thomas when she went to pick up the children?
I do.
What did his mother say? Do you recall?
I don't recall word for word what she said. I just know that she was not happy and did not express her dislike for Miss Thomas. And I don't remember word for word what was said, though.
Okay, and were the children present when the mother did that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's all, Judge.
All right, Officer Joe, if you'll wait. Mr. Thomas, do you have any questions you want to ask of this witness? All right, no further questions for you then. Officer Shook, thank you for joining us. You are now released, and good luck with your children.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Ms. Duke, you may call your next witness.
Judge, that's our proof.
Mr. Thomas, the plaintiff in this case is rested. You are entitled to put on proof if you wish. Do you wish to testify or call any witnesses?
No, I don't have anybody to call.
Do you want to testify?
As in, like, go on the stand?
As in go on the stand? I have to decide this case based upon the evidence that's presented through witnesses, which means right now they're alleging that you're in contempt of court because you have not paid child support and are currently in arrears in the payment of child support of $1,245.30. In addition to that, they're saying you violated the court order regarding a payment of child support arrearages and that you're behind $1,100 in that. In addition to that, as you know from their petition for contempt, they're asking for a modification of the visitation or parenting schedules that you and she have under the original order of Judge Lockhart Mash. And you've heard the testimony about all the reasons why. You're not required to testify, but I can only decide the case based upon what I hear from the witness stand. You understand all that?
Somewhat, yes, sir.
Right. So the question comes to you, I'm not going to make you testify. Do you want to testify?
I honestly don't know, Your Honor. I don't know.
I'm sorry?
I said, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what would be the best option for me, other than the only thing that I can say is that
You're going to say anything in your defense, you're going to have to come to the stand and be sworn as a witness, and then I'll hear what you've got to say. But I'm giving you the opportunity to do that.
okay, yes, sir, I'll do it.
All right, come up. Raise your right hand and be placed under oath. All right, I'll be glad to hear whatever you have to say. You've heard what they've testified to and what their allegations are, is what they're asking me to do. So anything you want to say about that, this is your opportunity.
About the child support, well, for one, I would want to see like a figuration of how, like how the money is, the child support that I paid, just because and I left the paper up there, but from the last paper that I had received from Ms. Duke that said that I was behind on child support, I believe it was like $1,611.60. From the receipts that I have as of now, and I don't have the receipts from when I had my attorney, Mr. Walker, at the time. I tried to get the receipts back from him, and I was unable to do it. But from the receipts that I have now, when I've calculated, I'm maybe behind. I think it was like maybe $86 on the child support. I know I've been paying more than what the original amount was of $359.30, I believe it was. So I mean, I have been making forced the effort to pay, the child support and to get it caught up. Like I said, as from my calculations of the child support, I'm only like $86 behind. Also, I had lost my job when the child support was instated, and now like half of my income's cut in half now, but I'm still paying the child support and I'm still making efforts to pay the back support. I think Ms. Duke said that I'm still like $1,100 behind on the $200 every month payment, which from the paper that she gave me and the receipts that I have, I'm current on that. And as far as just the regular child support, from when I had my attorney, Mr. Walker, I apologize. He had told me when we came in here and child support was set, he had told me when we left. Well, I don't even think it was set. It was set for me to pay, but he told me that they had to still come up with the exact amount, and that he had to make sure that she was actually paying the daycare like she was saying. So he told me that he would contact me to let me know an exact amount of what to pay. Well, I didn't hear back from him until the day after Thanksgiving, and at that time he had advised me that I was already, I want to say, like almost $1,500 behind on child support. And from that conversation, that very next following week, I had started paying the child support. He had also let me know when he was representing me that we were trying to figure out a parenting plan, and he had came back to me.
I'm going to object as to anything you let him know. I mean,
All right, Sustained, you cannot quote what your lawyer told you about the situation. I have to decide this case based upon witnesses who testify. So if you have anything else you want to say, I'll be glad to hear it. But you can't just sit there and talk about what your lawyer told you.
About me not wanting anything to do with my children. I have made attempts to contact Mrs. Thomas about the kids. I've even went up to the school and asked to sit down and have lunch with the kids, and they told me that
I'm going to object as to anything they told him.
that they couldn't do.
What? Stand up when you're talking to me,
I'm going to object as to anything they told him. The hearsay.
Sustained. Can't quote what someone else said to you, please.
Can I word it like, I don't know how to word it. So, I mean, I went to the school to eat lunch with them, and I was denied due to, I can't say that.
Quote what somebody else said. You were denied the access to have lunch with your children.
Right. And I think it was maybe based because of the COVID thing or whatnot. But I have made attempts to be in my children's life outside of when I get them, on the weekends. I had even, it says in the final degree for our divorce that come summer break, I get the kids. Me and Miss Thomas basically like switch roles, like so during school, Mrs. Thomas gets the kids Monday through Friday, and at 6 o'clock I get them on Friday and return them back to her at 6 o'clock on Sunday.
How long has it been since you've seen the older children?
Since the final degree. I take that back. The oldest daughter, she came after our divorce was finalized for like the first 2 or 3 weekends, and then I had asked Mrs. Thomas if Tanea Thomas was coming back.
How long has it been since you've seen the older children?
I don't have an exact, it's been a long time.
Your former wife says a couple of years. Would you agree?
Since our last divorce since our divorce was finalized.
You remember when that was?
I want to say it was like January.
May of 2022?
Oh, yeah.
That's just last year, I think.
Right.
But it would have been before that you haven't seen them?
Well, before our divorce was finalized, I had custody of all 4 of the kids, temporary custody of all 4 of the kids. And then we split, when we came in here for our divorce, we split 50-50 custody.
All right. Now, there was testimony that you've been convicted of sexual exploitation of a minor. Is that true?
That is false.
Okay. Have you been charged with that?
I was not charged with that.
Were you charged of anything remotely?
I was charged with a harassment misdemeanor, and that was it.
Okay. So where did this idea come from that you were charged with that sexual exploitation of a minor?
That would be
First you've heard of it?
Yes, that would be a question for Ms. Duke.
Now, you understand that you were not supposed to have alcohol under the prior court order. You were not supposed to have alcohol or consume alcohol around these children.
Right, yes.
Do you understand that the allegation is that you had been drinking the night of the domestic assault arrest when the children were with you?
Yes, I understand that. And I did have a few drinks. It was a hectic weekend. We were going through a death in the family. I did make a poor decision to, have a couple of drinks, and it led to other poor, decisions that I do regret.
Anything else you want to tell me about what they have testified?
Other than the fact, Your Honor, I'm trying to do better as far as, paying child support. I do want to see my kids. I miss them dearly. I'm currently going to church. I just got baptized yesterday. So I'm making better choices for myself and also for my family. And I just wish that, the court could see that, and the court would, can understand that I'm not perfect in any way. I've made bad decisions in the past. I probably can say that we've all made bad decisions in the past, and I'm just asking for another chance.
All right. Ms. Duke, do you have any questions?
I do.
You took your oldest son's telephone away from him, didn't you?
I would take his cell phone from him when he would come over, simply for the fact that when he was over with his cell phone, he paid no attention to nobody, even his siblings. But when he didn't have his cell phone, he, interacted with everybody. He played around.
Let me rephrase that, sir. The cell phone that you had a cell phone number for that child that he could carry back and forth to both homes, as soon as you were divorced from your wife, you canceled that policy. You canceled that line. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Okay. So he still has that cell number?
He doesn't have the cell number, no.
Because you took it from him, correct?
Right.
Okay. And since that time, Ms. Thomas has had to, even not receiving the full amount of child support, has had to go out and purchase that child a phone, correct?
I have no recollection of if she's purchased it or I know that he has a phone.
And during this time period is a time period where you weren't even caring to visit with this child, but you expected him to provide you with his cell phone number without you even asking.
I don't understand your question.
You expected a child that you've not spoken to in over a year to provide you with a cell phone number, and you were upset that he wouldn't provide you with his cell phone number.
It wasn't the fact that I was upset at him. It was more of the fact that it's simply not a child's decision to make a grown person's
Okay.
choice. I was supposed to have my child's cell phone number. It didn't say that that it was up to the parent to give me that number. It was stated that that we were both supposed to have that any child that had a phone's cell phone number.
But there has been nothing that has prevented you from attempting to talk to those children via Miss Thomas's phone. Is that correct? You could pick up the phone and call her phone at any point in time for the last year and a half, and you've not done that, have you, sir?
I have. And
On
I have
what date
not
did you do that, sir?
received any phone calls back or answered.
On what date did you pick up the phone
I don't
and
recall.
call?
I don't recall exact days,
And you
but I
don't-
know in my heart that I have made attempts and I have called to talk to my children, and the phone calls have never been answered.
Okay, so when you rode by their house and one of your second youngest child was standing outside and you just kept on going, didn't stop to say hello, and then they're curious about if daddy even recognizes us anymore.
Was that before or after the restraining order?
After the restraining order.
Okay,
You
so
understand?
my, and maybe I just didn't understand it right, but my regulation of the restraining order was that I was not supposed to have any contact.
Okay.
So I to protect myself from any other further trouble, no, I didn't have no contact.
Sir, you recall your attorney having a long conversation with you in court when he was representing you about it not preventing you from contacting your children. You can contact your children.
He told me that he was gonna work something out with you, and then that's why I tried to say earlier that there was supposed to be a to where I could see the kids, and nothing happened. I mean, nothing. There was never. I mean,
And you actually refused to give Ms. Thomas a number for the caregiver providing for your children over the summer, didn't you?
well, there was not a reason to give her any other number when I was.
When your children, your two youngest that don't have cell phones, are in the care of one individual, your wife, over the summer with whom you've had domestic issues, you refused to provide her with a phone number where that if there were an emergency, she could reach out to them, correct?
There was no reason to give her the number.
Okay, but the question, sir, is did you refuse to give her that number?
Yes.
Judge, if I may approach. You see this text message where she asks you for the phone number for the children?
Mm-hmm.
And then you tell her to send you a screenshot where it says that you have to provide that. And she sent you a screenshot wherein your parenting plan requires you to provide her with a telephone number where the children may be reached. And you refused to do that, is that correct?
Right, because I was watching the kids, so why did I have to give her my wife's phone number when the kids were around me? So she had a number to contact the kids, my phone number.
I'd submit that as the next marker.
Exhibit 3.
Sir, you weren't watching your children. You were leaving your children with Mary during the summertime while you were working, correct? Mary doesn't work, does she?
At that time, I was not working.
Okay.
I was.
Well, you were. You had a car detailing business, and it was all over Facebook. But did you realize that your wife had that information? You told the court today you weren't working, but that was not true, was it?
When I had the kids, I did not work. That was. I mean, it was my own business, so I made my own schedule. So when I had my own kids, no, I didn't work.
So are you correcting your statement from earlier when you said you weren't working at the time and that you couldn't afford child support? You couldn't afford to pay the $200 a month you were required to pay?
I don't recall saying. Well, then yes, I correct that.
And you agree with me, sir, that you still owe the First Baptist bill, that you've not paid your half of the First Baptist bill.
I believe that I did pay it.
On what date did you pay it, sir?
I don't recall the day.
Okay. So if it still shows as an outstanding balance, that would be accurate, if you don't recall.
Correct.
Okay. And Judge, those statements that I gave you, exhibits 1 and 2, may I have those back? May I stand here with him and discuss this? Sir, you understand the first statements that I gave you were only up and through the date that we were in court the last time. And that these dates continued wherein you were supposed to pay child support and you didn't. You understand that?
These weren't the first ones that you gave me the last time.
Yes, because
we were
it
here.
didn't show, sir, that you were supposed to make your payments through March the 24th, which would be this week. Is that correct?
Right, and I have that on my desk now.
Right. You agree with me, sir, that these are in fact the payments that you've made, but that you didn't start making those payments until after we had to file a motion for contempt against you. You made the payment shortly thereafter of $400, not even close to what you owed back. Is that correct? That was your first payment, was December the 9th. Is that correct? Yes or no? You missed 6 weeks of payments prior to this. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, you made it on the 6th week. Did you miss the 11-4 payment, sir?
I did.
Did you miss the 11-11 payment?
I did. Up until, I missed the payments up until the 2nd of.
Until the 9th, correct, sir? You delivered one on the 9th for $400.
Right, because I was out. Back when I had my attorney, he said that
And you
he
can't
had.
say what somebody else said. You understand that, sir? That's hearsay. And you agree with me on your arrearage support payment that you stopped paying in July and in August. You made one payment in September, and then you didn't pay again for another 4 months after that. Is that correct?
Right, but I've caught that up.
And you think you've caught that up, but today you've not provided anything to this court to prove that, sir.
I mean, I can. It's on my desk over there.
Now, sir, you have access to Class Dojo, is that correct?
That is incorrect. I got kicked off of Class Dojo after the restraining order went into effect.
Okay, have you gone up there to try to get back on it?
They told me that I can't get back on it until this situation is taken care of.
Okay, well, have you reached out to Ms. Thomas to ask what's going on with their activities?
I have not, because I was under the impression that I was not able to because of the restraining order.
Let's be clear. Have you read the restraining order? Have you bothered to read it? Because the restraining order says the following: the respondent, meaning you, is prohibited from removing the party's minor children from the care and custody of the petitioner and mother, Talia Brene Walker Thomas. Visitation between the respondent and the minor children shall be at the discretion of the petitioner. It doesn't say you have no right to contact the children or have any contact with them, or to contact her about them, or to have contact the school about them. It only says you can't remove them from her care, and that your visitation will be at her discretion. Apparently, you misunderstood for whatever reason, or maybe you and your lawyer didn't discuss it clearly, but I wanted to make the record clear that you were never prohibited from having any contact with your children or having the ability to contact your children. Excuse me for interrupting you, Ms.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
And this isn't, you failing to make contact with your children isn't abnormal. Even when you were actually visiting with your children, you never contacted them throughout the week when they were with their mother, did you?
I did. I tried to make phone calls to see how their day was at school, and I never.
On one occasion,
she would tell me
correct?
that she was busy working, and I would ask her to have them call me when she got out of work, because through her I had no other way of contacting them, and I never received a phone call.
And on that date, sir, you chose to go to your stepchild's first day of kindergarten instead of your child's first day of kindergarten. Is that correct? There's nothing that prohibited you, was there? Yes or no?
I don't recall going to
How
their
do you
first
not
day.
recall what you did on a first day of school? You
I
went
mean,
to
it
your
was-
stepchild's first day of school, is that correct?
I would
Yes
have to
or
say
no?
that I don't recall.
Okay, that's all good.
All right, anything further, Ms. Duke, or you finished?
I'm finished,
All right,
Judge.
thank you, sir, you may stand down.
I do have all the kids here willing to testify against their father, but I know what the court's position is on that is, and I think I've gotten enough proof in otherwise.
Your Honor, I can give you the receipts for the child support.
I mean, if you want to come back to the stand and continue to testify about that part, that's fine, but is that what you want to do?
I mean, Your Honor, I don't want to go to jail over the child support if you know, I feel like by my calculations that I've paid up, I might be behind $86.
You are the person who has the obligation of proving that you are complying with a court order. They've made the allegation and have established a prima facie case that you have not complied with the court's order regarding the payment of child support or the child support arrearage. So it becomes apparent that the issue then becomes that you must prove, in my opinion, that you are in compliance. And if you have proof that you're in complete compliance with it, I'll be glad to hear it. Otherwise, I'm about to make a ruling.
Yes, sir, I would like to.
Come back to the stand then.
May I bring?
Yeah.
So the last time that we were here in court, Ms. Duke gave me a paper that said that my outstanding amount balance was $1,611.60. From the receipts that I have now, I'm only short $86 on the child support part, not the $200 part.
Hand that to the bailiff so that he can show Ms. Duke that what document you're referring to.
That's the one that was only through January. It didn't show March through March, so yes.
So that receipt that you're showing is for January,
Up in
November through January.
November through January. And then do you have any other payments that you have that you can show us that you've made on your child support?
Yes. So I have the child support payment for this past Friday. I usually send it in the mail to her, but I just figured I'd bring it today. So I have that to give to her. I still have to sign it or whatnot. But I have the receipts here from all the way back from December 23rd up until now. To, you know, submit to, I mean, I guess evidence for proof that I've came current. For the $200 for the $200 monthly payment for the rearage from the final degree, I had sent a money order, one for so on the, I'm sorry, let me go back. So for the back payment of the $200 payment that I was supposed to give every month, I was
All right, I'm going to instruct you to show Ms. Duke those documents, and then Ms. Duke, I'm just going to simply order that you and he compare notes regarding his payments, and if he is behind, he'll be ordered to bring himself current. But that can be done after we conclude this hearing. We've got a courtroom full of people still waiting. One thing that concerns me, I want you to be aware of, Mr. Thomas. I asked you earlier today when you were testifying, and one of the things I have to consider in hearing cases is the credibility of witnesses. And that's determined by whether someone is testifying truthfully. I asked you about whether or not that you had ever been convicted or charged of sexual exploitation of a minor, because that was what Ms. Duke had said at some point. I believe she and her client had. And my understanding was that you said, no, you had never been charged with that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been charged. I understand. I've been charged, but I just never was convicted of it.
All right, so you were charged with, I mean, the reason for that is because our judges, including me, handle both criminal and civil matters, and therefore I'm very familiar with our criminal dockets for Circuit Court of Dixon County, as well as with this Chancery docket. So when you say that you had never been, what I understood you to say, you had never been charged with and that you didn't know anything about the sexual exploitation of a minor, that didn't jive with my recollection of the criminal docket, and I wanted to make sure I was clear about that. You were charged with a multi-count indictment of sexual exploitation of a minor, but you ended up pleading to a misdemeanor harassment charge, correct?
Right.
All right. Anything further?
I understood him to say that he had not been charged also, Judge.
I did too. Step down. Ms. Duke, I need only you to address what is specifically you're asking this court to do in this case.
Judge, I'm asking that he be jailed for contempt, failure to pay. He's admitted that kind of admitted that he failed to pay the First Baptist, though he didn't recall whether or not he had done that. He's failed to refrain from making disparaging remarks, and that was testified to from independent parties. Officer Choate and Officer Hogan both testified as to that. He has failed to visit with his children. He has failed to do anything and everything he's required to do in this matter, including paying child support and back arrearages. I would ask that he be jailed on the criminal contempt. I would ask that that the restraining order remain in place. If Your Honor sees fit for him to have visitation, that it be therapeutic, that he be required to pay my attorney's fees. I can submit an affidavit on that, and that the court find that he's not a credible witness in this court. If I may consult my notes real quick, Judge. That an order go down that prevents Miss Mary Thomas and Mr. Thomas's mother from being around the children.
What are you specific? I'm sorry if I'm asking the question you already addressed. What specifically are you asking regarding his visitation schedule with the?
I'm asking that it start out at therapeutic and then the court review how the therapeutic sessions are going. At the rate we've gone with him, even in the divorce case to now, I don't expect that Mr. Thomas will follow through with anything at this point. So I think it would deserve a review after he has started therapeutic visitation with the children. I would also ask that the court allow my client, since she's had the children the majority of 2022, to be able to claim the children on the 2022 income tax return and moving forward until there's further orders of the court. Those are our requests, Judge.
Well, let me address first of all your request for criminal contempt. The rules of criminal procedure require a statement of rights to be attached to the petition that's filed. I don't find that statement in compliance with the court's with the court rules or the rules of criminal procedure to be attached to a copy of the petition that was filed. Therefore, I'm not dealing with this as a criminal contempt, but I will deal with it as a civil contempt instead. As a result of that, I found that Mr. Thomas is in willful and deliberate contempt of the orders of this court by virtue of his having consumed alcohol during an episode that has been admitted by him in direct violation of the court's prior orders. I found that he is also in contempt for not paying the child support on a current basis, and I found that he is in contempt for not paying the arrearages as has been previously ordered by the court. In addition to that, I find that he is in contempt for violation of the court's orders restraining the parties from making derogatory remarks about the other parent or allowing others to do so. Based upon all of those factors, the court finds that the prior parenting plan should be modified and that in fact, Mrs. Thomas will now be designated as the primary residential parent of the minor children. She will be allowed to claim all of the children for tax purposes from this date forward, at least until further orders might be entered. She will be allowed to claim the minor children for tax purposes, specifically all of them for 2022, since he has had no visitation with the minor children. I don't know whether his failure to visit with the children or having attempt to visit with the children or contact with the children was because, as he has testified, that he didn't understand, he understood he was prohibited from that. Frankly, I don't find Mr. Thomas's conduct, or testimony rather, to be credible. And as a result of that, I'm of the opinion at least that his failure to visit with the minor children was willful on his part. The reason for that is because I'm still ordering that the visitation at this point that was previously ordered of a 50-50 split will no longer be in place, and that as a result of that, we will now be requiring to have his visitation to be supervised in some fashion, starting with therapeutic visitation with an idea towards having a reconciliation between Mr. Thomas and the others. What that means is, Mr. Thomas, it's been long enough between you and your children that, and with the events that have taken place and all of what I've heard, that for their protection and for their benefit, I'm going to require you to have supervised visitation as well as go through some sort of therapeutic visitation with the children with an idea towards having you reconcile what has happened and getting back to a normal relationship with your children. Your present wife, if in fact she is your present wife, is, in my opinion, based upon the evidences, I don't find anything in the record that indicates that she herself would pose any sort of threat to the children. But the paternal grandmother is unfortunately in a situation where, based on what I've heard, has demonstrated that she should not be allowed to be around the children without supervision of her own, so that portion of that request will be granted. Ms. Duke, have I omitted anything in your request for attorney's fees? If you'll submit your affidavit, I will approve that you are awarded your attorney's fees for the bringing of this action.
Yes, Your Honor. And child support will remain as previously ordered? Child support remains as previously fixed,
although technically he's not having any overnight visitation, so until that time, I think that there would be normally a modification of the child support. Mr. Thomas, you're raising your hand. Can I answer any questions for you?
Can I ask that the child support be modified, turned to new? I have a new job, so I'm not.
You exchange information regarding your income, recalculate the child support, and now we will calculate the child support with the days being 365 for her, 0 days for you, because under the child support guidelines, if we're recalculating, I must consider the fact that you're not having overnight visitation. So we'll recalculate it based upon your income, present income, exchange that information with Ms. Duke, but I'll have to then also consider that you're not having any overnight visitations.
Judge, that's how it's calculated right now. It's calculated at 365 and 0, and we might have to have a brief hearing on that once he provides that information, because he would be voluntarily underemployed.
Be glad to. Just check with next year's schedule about when I can hear you again.
I mean, I have my check stuff here.
You and Ms. Duke can talk about the child support. The child support calculation is a matter of putting in the figures and using the computer. So let's, is there anything else before we move to the next case?
Nothing, I just wanted the court aware of that. Thank you, Judge, I'll draft the order.
All right.